Welcome back to Tater Talk. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Haley.
and in today's episode, we'll be talking all about sustainable commitment.
Yes. And we're actually going to have you meet Ian Taves, who is our Director of Engineering for Natural Resources, or I should say Natural Resource Conservation, excuse me. And Ian has been with Weston since 2016 and started off as an environmental manager, moved into EHS, ESG, all these different kinds of things, and is now landed in engineering, but from a natural resource perspective. So really cool. And he quickly moved his way up to becoming a director in this area with capacities leading to his current role.
But yeah, so we're super excited to hear this conversation with Ian. Just a little bit more background from him. He got his degree in agricultural engineering from University of Idaho and also has a graduate degree in hydrology from Cornell in New York. So he hasn't always been in the West. He traveled a little bit to the East. But again, we're super excited to have this conversation with Ian, and we hope you enjoy it.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Ian, for being here. We're super excited to have you on Tater Talk today.
Thanks. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, we'll kick us off. We always kind of like to start really broad. So we know ESG, those goals, those three main pillars were people, food, and planet. Just curious about how those came to be. What did that look like?
Yeah, well, I think if you start with food,
Yeah, exactly.
is what we're all about, and so really that almost encompasses everything because we're all about making food for our customers that is quality, is made safe, and is good for the environment, and so that really that encompasses the people, planet, food aspect, but we want to not leave it there for people to assume or fill in the details, right? We want to be a little more clear, and so the people on the planet really are diving deeper into that in terms of how we maintain a safe workplace and how we're a good place to work and people want to be here. Really making sure that from a social perspective, we're doing the right thing, and I think that's something that Lamb Weston is really good at. We show in a lot of ways, and the planet is really where I do a lot of my focus is in terms of my job, my day-to-day job. I've been in the environment, health, and safety group for a long time and have now transitioned into the engineering group. But all along, my focus has always been in how do we protect the environment in our operations and minimizing our impact. And also, not only just in our wastewater or air emissions or waste, but also how do we reduce the resources that we're using in terms of water and energy, and really making sure that we have a sustainable operation that will continue well into the future, and that we're good stewards of the communities that we're based in, and so the three really roll together well, and
yeah,
that's awesome. How do those three pillars, and you kind of spoke to two already, of how they lead to our sustainable commitment, and maybe how I feel like it's probably an always evolving process of like how that needs to change to make sure we're sustainable, or how the needs of our world change of how to be sustainable.
Yeah, it definitely has evolved over time. We've always had a pretty heavy sustainability focus. In the past, it's really been more just energy, water, waste, and how do we look at those three things. And I think when Trudy started in really that ESG focus, that broadened into the three pillars and really looking more than just those utility or the resource utilization piece, but how do we broaden that into looking externally in our community and internally within our employees and the safety and workplace. And so it is constantly changing and encompassing more aspects of our operation, and it's something that our customers help kind of prod us along as well. They do audits and check in on our progress and that kind of thing as well. So
check.
Yeah, so there's that healthy kind of forward pressure to make sure that we're continuing to advance our goals and what we're doing. So
Cool.
Yeah. And speaking of advancing, we talked a lot about this in previous episodes, and we will in future ones too, I'm sure. But the advances in technology to help us in this endeavor of our sustainable commitment, and water reclamation, all these things, how has that pushed Lamb Weston forward, or what has that been like?
Yeah, there's been some really neat advances in the technology. One of the things that we've done a lot of is converting our water preheaters to the pulsed electric field PEFs. And so that takes away a steady state hot water use and replaces it with a very small water use and using different technology there. So something that, there's a big benefit from a sustainability perspective because we're using less water, less energy to heat the water. And also, I think it improves our, finish quality, improves our recovery, that kind of thing. So there's some benefits on both sides, but that new technology really was an unlock for that. And we're still doing some of those projects and seeing the benefits, which is really exciting. We got some grant funding to help do a project in Pasco that's going to do. We'll remove a whole bunch of their preheaters, replace it with a couple of PEFs, and the water reduction is huge with that. So that's one area. And then, over the last 7-8 years or so, we've been getting into water reclamation or recycling, where we're actually treating the water and reusing it in our plants. And, that's not necessarily new technology, but it's sort of a certainly new way for us to apply that technology. And not a lot of food companies around the world are doing that. And so it's very innovative in the approach and advanced, and certainly makes our water footprint significantly lower. And so there's a lot going on in terms of technology development and then new areas to apply technology. And that's one of the things that I'm looking at a lot within the engineering role that I'm in is, how do we find more of those things, whether it's for energy conservation, water conservation, better ways to treat our water so that we don't have to input so many resources, energy and chemicals and other things to treat the water. So there's a lot of aspects where we can minimize our footprint in just looking at new technology.
It's incredible.
I know. You said, I think it's such I'm like, where does this even start? Because you said to not a lot of people are doing this necessarily. Where, and this might seem like a silly question, like, where does that start? Is it someone just saying like, oh, we could be more sustainable? Or is it like the data behind just how much water we're using? Like, where does that light bulb go off that it's like, wait, we could be doing something different start?
It's a good question. And it probably has multiple different answers depending on the situation. So, in some cases, we don't have enough water to expand our facility. And so we need to figure out how do we, we always want to reduce first, but then at some point we've got to look at how do we treat the water so that we can reuse it.
Yeah.
So in some cases that is a big driver. Certainly our overarching sustainability goals are always a driver, and that's a big benefit that we can see from that. But yeah, in some cases it's, there's when you look at the capital dollars that we'd have to expend to build a large treatment system, or pipe water and go to a land application system or whatever it might be, it actually comes out to be more economical to put in this, higher technology and reuse the water right at the plant instead of getting it out to, far-flung places to land apply or treat or whatever. So there's a lot of different aspects that we consider there, and I think we always want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, but we've got to make sure that it makes sense financially too. And so it's a balance to figure out how to
do all
how to get it all done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I didn't know about we were getting grants for all of this, and what does that look like? Are you writing grants or what?
So we've been, that's kind of a new, we've been always really focused on finding energy incentives. So a lot of utility companies, they have incentives for doing energy efficiency projects. But the grant writing has been a new step for us largely. And that's something that between, Trudy's team and my team, we've been doing quite a bit of that over this last year, and actually have been quite successful in getting some grants, which is really exciting. There's some new opportunities that have been coming along. Washington, for example, has, through the Department of Commerce, a clean energy grant, and so because the carbon program that they've been doing is it's generating some income for the state, actually a lot of income for the state. So they are redistributing some of that money through the grant program, and so we said, hey, look, we saw other companies being, getting some big grants.
Mhm.
That, well, we need to, we got to figure out what's
Get
going
our
on there.
feet
Yeah.
So we just started doing it, and
Nice.
and so the first 2 that we applied for, we got. So that was pretty, really
Yeah.
exciting.
2 for 2. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we can keep that.
Keep that right.
I can't guarantee 100% all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes to show how pivotal what we're doing and wanting to do is that's being seen by other people too. It's not just important to us. It's like, this is important enough to give a grant or be involved in these different systems. And so I think it's just really cool that it's, we can sit here without any water knowledge and be like, okay, this makes sense. And it's also really important to the masses. I think maybe just some of the people we've been talking to the past couple of days, it's like, I just feel like we're always trying to give our world a big hug and like everything that we're doing. And so it's fun to see like that come to fruition, and even watching the water videos, like, gosh, there's so many people that are behind this to make that happen.
Absolutely.
It sounds easy, right? Like, let's just use less water, but it's obviously not that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good point, is that we've seen some good progress on our water usage, and in some cases energy usage too. That's the next big focus, really, is to really get focused on the energy reduction piece as well. But it doesn't happen, just with the snap of fingers or whatever. Right? It takes a lot of people at all the plants to do that and really be engaged. And they, everyone working at the plant has a ton of things on their plate and a lot of focus areas, and it's hard to remember those things that are maybe a little bit less pressing when you got to get French fries out the door, because that's how we stay in business, right? So to be able to take some of that focus and apply it towards the sustainability aspects of our operations is really important, and it's not easy. So it deserves a big shout out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. I think we talk about, of course, water waste or energy use reduction, all these kinds of things. We also know that our potatoes, the excess gets taken to be reused elsewhere too. I mean, are there other cool, innovative waste reduction things we're doing that we maybe haven't touched on?
Yeah, absolutely. We've always done really good at making sure that every part of the potato is used somehow. Obviously, we want to make as much into the French fries as we can, but from there, the byproducts, we've always had good relationships with cattle feedlots and that kind of thing in the areas, and we're able to turn that into at least a little bit of income as well, versus in some cases, if you have to take it to the landfill or something like that,
Right.
One, that's not good, certainly not good for the environment, but it's going to be a big cost as well. So that has been a great way to make sure that all the potatoes are getting consumed. But of course, we also capture starch, and so there's a neat circular story there with the starch from our cutting systems is captured, collected, and then we sell it to a company, and they reprocess it for us, and then we buy it back and blend it at
I had no idea.
I did not know that one.
So there's some really neat stuff like that. And another cool story or example is at the Patterson frozen plant and the dairy and the farm there, right? We grow a lot of our vegetables that we process at the frozen plant, and then the byproducts that come from the vegetables goes out to the dairy, and we make that into feed for the cattle. They eat it, of course,
Manure.
and then that gets applied back on the field. And so you have a neat circular system there as well. And so there's some really fun stuff. And then there's always some neat, innovative things that we're looking at through different research partnerships with PNNL or universities or whatever. And I've been talking with the professor at OSU here recently, and gonna get some sample of our potato peel to them, and they're looking at using that for making biodegradable packaging materials and stuff. So, so there's a lot of cool things that are going on, and it's just trying to make sure we keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening, and get involved. So
yeah, it's always something. It's always something new, right? It's like especially in y'all space, it's there's always a new measure, a new data point, but a new capability with the technology. So it's I think you said it, like keeping finger on the pulse of like, okay, what's the next thing that we can do?
Right.
it's always evolving.
I also love that we have so many community connections, like OSU, WSU. Like there's just, we partner with so many different organizations to find the solutions. It's just really, really cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to be clear for people that aren't up here, is OSU Oregon State?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. That was good.
I'm a Southern girl or a Big Ten girl, so I was like Oklahoma State, Ohio State. Those don't feel like those make sense. Okay, Oregon State, Washington State.
Yeah, ag land.
We do a lot of work with the land grant institutions at Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, especially. A lot of great research going on at all those universities, and so it's a good way to plug in. And sometimes we've funded capstone design projects and engineering team, or we've had the students come and do assessments, or we certainly are always looking for internship opportunities and stuff like that. So there's some really neat ways to connect with universities, and then that often lead to other projects and have relationships. So it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, love it.
Is there anything else you want to make sure people know about water, waste, all the things?
Sustainability.
I know, like we were talking to you earlier, we're going to be talking to a lot of different people, and so it's really going to be really cool to just hit on the different stories. Like just from this, it's like you just listed like probably 10 other people that we could probably talk into to click deeper into this. But is there anything from your seat that you're like, this is what people really should know about either your role or what the company's doing?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about a lot of it, but there's definitely the impact that people are having is huge, and everyone can have an impact, right? I mean, it's not, you don't have to be at a plant to help save water, whether it's at home or just in the office or wherever. We can all save water, we can save energy, and that just is less use of our resources, and so I think that's really a key point to remember, that we all have a part, and we talked about it earlier, but again, just the people that are really doing it day to day at the plants is huge, and give them a shout out whenever you see them, right? Because it's a lot of work, and we've seen a lot of good progress. And I think the other exciting thing is just looking into the future. I think there's a ton of opportunity we still have, and I'm excited to see what Lamb Weston looks like from a sustainability perspective in 5 years, and we have our 2033 goals that are out there a little bit further, but I think we're gonna far exceed those in terms of what we can do here. So so it's exciting. It'll be fun to see what things look like, and where we go as a company. So
awesome.
That's good to hear. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. Oh, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
That is all for today's episode of Tater Talk. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Ian.
Yes, I learned so much about all of the things that we're doing to conserve water, energy, provide other things for the waste that we produce. I mean,
and like how much sharing can happen. Like I didn't know you could give resources that easily to each other.
I know. Lots of opportunities on the horizon for sustainable commitment. So really cool. And if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe, leave a review, share with a friend, and of course, click the link so you can send us topics or future people you want us to interview on this podcast. So as always, we will see you next time on Tater Talk.
Bye.
Bye.